You're listening to the Brilliant Breakthroughs Podcast, episode number 33 with Dave Wallace.
Hi, small business owners. Welcome to Brilliant Breakthroughs Podcast, where we focus on creating brilliant breakthroughs for the small business owner. FYI, that is also the same name of our #1 Amazon bestselling book for small businesses and those of you in entrepreneurship. The good news is you can find this book in paperback and ebook form as well. So just so you know which one it is, go to Amazon and click in Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner. The subtitle is Fresh Perspectives on Profitability, People, Productivity, and Finding Peace in Your Business. So I want to say hello, rock stars of small business. My name is Maggie Mongan, and I'm the leader of this collaborative book, which is really awesome. And today we're honored to have Dave Wallace, a #1 bestselling author through Amazon. Woo! The crowd goes wild. Wow! And he's here to talk to us about your business's profitability performance by supporting your business better through understanding that sales isn't a solo activity at all. So welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Maggie. It's great to be here and always great to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to this because we're having a conversation today that is a little different from the other ones that we've had in the past. Are you ready to share some really cool things?
I think I'm ready.
Okay, great. So everyone, Dave's chapter is the third one, and it is titled Sales Suck in Solitude. I bet you're laughing right now as you're hearing that, but boy, he really helps you see that that is true through his chapter. And Dave, you covered a lot of ground in your chapter, while at the same time you only scratched the surface of the challenges small business owners face on how we can become successful in our sales process. And you delivered it, but there's more. And I bet a lot of people come to you, especially now that you're like this #1 bestselling author. Woo, you're the big man on campus. And they say, hey, what are some good resources to help me out with sales?
You know, they do. And other than our book, which of course is the best resource that they can get, shameless plug intended.
Okay, and we'll move on now.
there are a number, and I don't exist. My sales efforts don't exist in solitude either. And there are a number of resources that I go to. There are some books that are part of my library that I refer to on an ongoing basis. There are some industry experts out there that I subscribe to their websites and things like that.
Cool.
And then there's other just kind of industry websites that I go to that provide great content. I guess if I think about somebody who's getting into sales and maybe they're a little bit new or maybe they need a refresher, there's a great resource. It's a woman out of Minneapolis. Her name is Jill Conrath. If you haven't heard of her, you need to track her down. I really like Jill. She's been doing this a long time. She has over 140,000 followers of her podcasts and her LinkedIn posts and things like that. She's a speaker. She's an author. But what I really like about Jill is that she uses plain talk. And she doesn't pull any punches. And it's really practical advice. It's not theoretical mumbo jumbo. For example, she talks about, if you call a customer on a cold call and you start by introducing yourself and talking about how cool your company is or something, she says things like, that's crap, and they're going to delete you in 6 seconds. Plain talk, rather than going through this long, complicated conversation. So Jill has a website. She has several books out. I think Selling to Big Companies is one of them. But she has a long history in sales, and I have, if not all of her books, almost all of her books. And I look at them from time to time, and I follow her on LinkedIn, and I check out her website. So she's just a really good resource to go to for some great perspective, and plain talk. It's not, again, it's not this highfalutin stuff. So, it,
Okay.
so I don't know. Is that helpful?
I think it's very helpful. So, one point that I hear you saying is she helps you streamline your learning curve because she cuts to it.
She does, and she actually has a book that's really all about how do you accelerate learning and in the sales profession, which kind of, and that wasn't a setup. You didn't know that, so but one of her books is actually about how do you learn faster um, in a profession that's changing daily. So yeah, she's great.
Okay, so everybody knows Jill, Jill, and how do you spell her last name?
Conrath is spelled Konrath.
All right, so everybody can hunt her down and connect with her in whatever fashion they would like. So thanks, because that's really cool to know. Having somebody that serves a rookie
Hmm.
or someone who needs a brush up. And as we know, we all need brush ups from time to time.
We
So
sure do. We sure do.
good resource. All right, so she's an expert that you'll stand behind all day long. That's clear.
Right.
What about some books?
Well, my two favorite books. I'm gonna focus on one of them, but my two favorite books, when it comes to sales, are The Challenger Sale and Selling to Zebras. And I'll talk about the Challenger Sale first, and if
Okay.
we have time, we can talk about the other. But the Challenger Sale it's kind of the seminal book of the last 5 years when it comes to sales. And what I really like about it is that it's data driven and fact based. So it's a very dense book. There's a lot of information because they drew all their information from thousands and thousands of interviews. And what they've discovered is some really, I won't go into too many spoiler alerts, but they've discovered some really interesting things. And some of them are counterintuitive. And perhaps the one that's the most counterintuitive is that they describe that there are about 5 different types of sales people, generally speaking. And the one that they expected was going to be the highest performer is what they would call the relationship builder. And most of us have been trained that sales is all about relationships, and you got to be really good at that to be good at sales. But the research did not back up that assumption. The research found that the relationship builder was actually the least likely to be a high performer. Only 7% of relationship builders are high performers. The most likely was the challenger. And the challenger is described as someone who teaches their customer something about the customer's business that the customer didn't understand. And if you think about that, that kind of gets to it, because if all you're doing is talking about, your product and your services, you sound like everybody else. But when you can start teaching your customer something new, and the challenger goes into lots of information, it's published by the folks at CEB, Corporate Executive Board. CEB is now a part of Gartner. So
Yes.
between the two of them, they're about a $5 billion entity. So they've got lots of horsepower. They do lots of research. But I go back to the Challenger on an ongoing basis. It's sitting on my bookshelf. I've got various chapters of the Challenger that are various, white papers and stuff that are immediately accessible to me. So, but it's not for the faint of heart. So if you're going to read the Challenger, you better put your big boy or big girl glasses on and sit down, because it's a dense read that you're really going to have to concentrate on. But man, there's really good stuff in there. So I would say you got to have the Challenger Sale in your library.
Okay, that's really good to know. And just you sharing that they debunk a myth about the type of approach a person has in sales is essential, because I think so often we find that we succumb to the myth and then we learn how to become that myth, and only to find out and it's only through research that will validate, great, but guess what? This is where the high performance is. And we all thought something different. Perception doesn't matter. Research is research.
Right. And actually, there's a new piece of research that just came out in the last 30 days. I would encourage people to go find it. It's called I think it's called the exceptional experience. And it's about customer service. And it's, again, from our friends at CEB. And it's about customer service, and it's about loyalty. And one of the things that they discover, and I think their research base is up to 97,000 different interviews that they've done. And what they found is that loyalty is not necessarily equated to a customer delight experience. Everybody thinks, well, if I delight my customer, if I give them exceptional service, then I'm going to have customer loyalty. Again, the data do not support that assumption. So it goes right back to your point about research. When research gets in the way of the myth, it creates challenges for people. So yes. I would encourage listeners to check that out, because a lot of people are not going to like what they read, but that's the kind of stuff that's important to understand, and that's why you need to have lots of resources available to you. And so again, the Challenger is a great resource. I like I say, my book is pretty worn.
Well, then that's a good book.
Right.
All right. And is there another book that you lean on?
Well, I lean on Selling to Zebras, and that's for our Wisconsin listeners. That's written by a local guy named Jeff Kozer, and Jeff and I have gotten to know each other very well over the past year, and I am a quote zebra. But what I really like about the Zebra, and it's a story. It's very different than the Challenger. It's actually, it's kind of a hero story. It takes you on a journey with a particular sales manager, and how he discovers a different way to approach his customers to be successful. But the interesting part of it, and one of the challenges of the Challenger, no pun intended, is that while it's a great read, it's not that easy to do. And what Selling to the Zebras does is it kind of shows you the how-to for all of the stuff that's in the Challenger. And it's a good story. It was written in 2009. Some of it it's being updated. There's some of the stuff in there that's going to be updated with some new data. But it makes a lot of sense. And I think when people read the book, they'll say, wow, that's a different way to approach my customer. And actually, the Selling to Zebras books references the Challenger sale in a number of different parts. So they recognize they recognize the Challenger as well.
Okay.
But again, it's an excellent book. It's an easy read because it reads like a story more than it does like a textbook, for lack of a better word.
Okay, so somebody's looking for something more, story, more of a story as a learning lesson versus going hard into the data and the research. They should start with Selling to Zebras.
I would say that depending on what's important to you, that's a starting point, but I think you need to read both of them.
Oh, okay.
The order that you read them in may be determined by, kind of how you process information. But the two of them together, they work like a hand in glove.
Great. And they're backed up by some great research companies, so we don't have to be concerned about the validity of what's in them.
That's what makes them great.
Absolutely.
Among other things.
Among other things. That was good save there.
Yeah.
All right. And I know that we still have some time, and I'd like to talk to you about some sites that you might recommend, as well as some tools for folks in their sales. So which one would you like to share first?
Let's talk about the sites, because I think those are more universal than the tools. There's a number of different sites. Obviously, I've mentioned a couple of them with Jill Conrath and with the Challenger, but the other two that I like, one is the Sales Management Association, And I think if you just type that into Google, you'll be sent to the right site. You can join for free. What I like about it is it's a cross-industry association. While they say they're for sales managers, there's a lot of stuff in there that's applicable for leaders as well as individual contributors. And there's a lots of new stuff that's coming out all the time. They have a wide variety of contributors. None of the articles are long, so they're very easy read. So even if it turns out that it doesn't really apply to your particular situation, you haven't lost a bunch of time in reading
Okay.
the article. So that's one. Again, very easy to get to, and my guess is that, and I have explored some of them, but my guess is that when you get on the Sales Management Association website and you start looking their stuff, they will point you to other, you'll be pointed to other sites that would also be useful. I haven't done that much.
Okay, great. So it's a resource unto itself, and it's a meta resource as well.
Yeah, I think it's more unto itself, but I'm almost positive last time I was on there, I saw it links you out to a lot of other things, or a contributing author. There might be a contributing author that you really like what they have to do, and their information will be there, and then you can get linked to their website to learn more about their particular approach.
Got it.
So I guess a meta source would be a good way to put it.
Okay. All right. So now that would work really for anyone in sales or anyone who wants to explore more about sales.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
Okay. All right. And you have another one or two?
Well, I'm a big fan of the Harvard Business Review. I know that there are some academics out there that question it as far as being a professional. What's the term? Is it
Professional journal?
if it's a professional journal? But they get lots and lots of different stuff. It's not all about sales, but it's a great source for small business owners to go to. And there's enough in there about sales that I would put it on my list. I use it quite often. Sometimes I don't agree with what somebody has written, and that's okay because it gives me a different perspective, and it either causes me to shift my thinking or it causes me to say, yeah, I don't agree with that. I see how they got there, but I think the approach that I'm following is more solid. And I think that's important. I think you want to be exposed to lots of different perspectives. So I really like the Harvard Business Review. You might have to be a subscriber to get access to all their information. I think it's less than $100 a year, and that also gets you their either monthly or bi-monthly magazine. So good source, and lots of different contributing authors.
I completely agree with you on that. They've been a source of mine for well over a decade. Yeah, maybe two. And there is a subscription fee, but there's also for anyone who doesn't want to do that. I think they allow up to let you to read maybe 3 different articles in a month.
Yeah, I think that's right, because I've seen sometimes if I'm not logged in and I look at an article, it'll tell me I only have one more left. And then I say, oh, I'm going to log in because I'm special. I have a subscription. Um,
Well, you're
but
special, all right.
yeah, but it's a good source. And I would strongly encourage, I mean, if you're serious about your business and you're not willing to spend $100 a year, that's just kind of silly.
Good point. Good point. And I agree, it is an investment that is definitely going to give you the ROI if you open it up and you read the articles and then you start experimenting with what you're learning.
Exactly. Yeah. It does you no good if you just kind of glance at the article and move on. But there's going to be something in there for everybody, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I agree. Now, is there another site that you'd like to share?
I think those are my top ones, along with, the sites that you're going to get from people like Jill Conrath and maybe Simon Sinek. Start with Why. He has a great website. He has
Right.
a lot of good stuff. Once you get into this and you start poking around, you'll find ones that will speak to you, and they may be different than what we've talked about today.
Okay. So I really like this because what you're sharing right now is these resources that we've discussed are really solid and they will serve well.
Correct.
Great. And then after that, it's open for interpretation for everyone, right?
Yeah, you gotta think for yourself, but it's a good place to start.
Okay, great. And then the last round of resources we have is tools. And you said that there's some really good tools for sales folks or the sales process.
There's a boatload of tools out there. I don't. I use quite a few, probably more than I should. Some of them overlap. Obviously, if you're in sales, you got to be on LinkedIn. That's
Right.
that goes without saying. And there are plenty of LinkedIn experts out there. If you're not comfortable with how you're using it, that you can go to. So that's definitely. I think another nice tool is, and this is the one I use. It's called Buffer. Buffer allows you to kind of stack up LinkedIn posts and things like that. And I've got the free version of Buffer. I've got the free version of LinkedIn. So you can use that. There's a research tool out there called Inside View. So if you're in prospecting mode and you're looking for companies, Inside View, I think they have a free version and a paid version, but it lets you get good information about companies so that you can do the appropriate amount of research to really be prepared when you make that call. And then some specific software. I'm a big fan of ClearSlide. ClearSlide is a multi-purpose software package that allows you to track emails, whether they've been opened or not. It allows you to do video emails or personalized video messages from directly within ClearSlide. It sends the user to a private URL, so it doesn't. ClearSlide emails are not attachments, so they don't get stuck in spam filters. It allows you to do online screen sharing, similar to Zoom and WebEx. So it's got a lot of really nice capabilities. You can do mass emailings from it. So ClearSlide it's definitely a paid tool, and you'd have to go to the ClearSlide website and figure out which subscription is right for you. And then the last one is the one that's near and dear to my heart, which is the Selling to Zebras software, which is a sales process, sales enablement. Those are all highfalutin terms. But what I like about Selling to Zebras, as compared to some of the CRM systems out there, is Selling to Zebras actually helps you sell. And you can be a single user. I'm a single user of Selling to Zebras. I don't have a big company, and you can get tremendous value from the software.
Okay, so that's an interesting point. Selling to Zebras software is more than a CRM. It actually helps you sell.
Correct.
Help me with that.
Well, and the CRM people that are listening might want to reach through their computer and throttle me, but I'm going to present my perspective. CRM software solutions are typically management facing, and they are tracking solutions. So you put information in there about companies and about contacts, so you have this big database of information. But it doesn't really help you. They don't really help you sell. Selling to Zebras software actually helps you sell. It helps you score your opportunities so you can see if in fact you're talking to an ideal customer, and if you're not, it helps you understand where you're missing information and what you need to do before you go to the next step. You can embed all kinds of great templates for automatic generation of proposals, of presentations, of break-in emails, various things like that. Those can be embedded, and you can control when you or somebody has access to them based on where you are in your process. So you can't skip ahead and send something when you're not ready to send it. And finally, it allows you to build value stories so that you can actually show customers predictions of value. That's just not a function that is part of a CRM solution. I have a CRM solution, a personal one for me, and I use it to track all of the people that I talk to, and it works just fine, and it reminds me when I need to get in touch with somebody, and that's great, but it doesn't help me sell. I need the Selling to Zebras software in conjunction with that to help me sell. And it's okay to have two pieces of software that have a little bit of overlap if in essence, they provide you with different capabilities, and they help your business in different ways. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's no one size fits all, especially for the small, especially for the small business owner who doesn't want to spend a small fortune customizing some software to fit their exact needs.
Right, right. So this is important because what I heard you say is the selling to zebras software doesn't allow you to hack the sales process, which ultimately hacks the outcome.
That's correct. You can obviously you can always cheat, and you can manufacture. I'll give you an example real quick. Let's say you're working for a company, and the company says that before you can write a proposal, the sales opportunity needs to be at 60%. So what do you do when you want to write a proposal? You and I have a great conversation. I want to write a proposal. I just put the opportunity at 60%, and then I can write the proposal. So in essence, I'm defeating the purpose of the system. Well, I can do that in selling to zebras. I can falsely create a particular status, but it's much more apparent that someone has done that. If you're a manager and you have a group of people using the selling to zebra software, it's much more apparent if they've hacked the system than it is with a standard CRM. So obviously there is a people portion of all this, but it's real. I mean, it has a lot of really cool features. The top three are: number one, it helps you scoring your opportunities, so you know, in fact, if you're dealing with somebody that you should be dealing with or what information you need to get. It has these pre-built templates that you tailor to your organization that become available at a certain point along the way. And then it helps you build these value stories. And if you read the book, Selling to Zebras, and if you read the book, The Challenger Sale, and if you listen to what Jill Conrath says, they all say the same thing, which is, if you don't understand why your customers buy from you, and if you don't understand the value you deliver, you're going to be struggling in sales. Well, this is a tool that lets you take that value that you deliver and put it into a story that you can tell a future customer about the prediction that you're making about the value you can deliver. And it's based on information you've received from your existing customers. It says, these guys did this for my company, and now I can go and I can share that with someone who I want to do business with and say, this is the kind of results I predict that we can get together. And that's not available from anybody else right now.
It isn't. So I'm so glad that we went a little deeper, because if somebody is looking for something, they need to be reaching out to you to talk.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, I'd love, wow, I would just love for us to continue to talk, but I know our time is getting short. Is there anything else you'd like to share last minute?
No, I can't think of anything other than if people want to reach out to me, I can offer a couple of complimentary services. And if you're interested, either a complimentary sales process assessment or an ideal customer review, to those listeners of this podcast who reach out to me, we can spend an hour together and see what we learn together. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense to me. So listeners, this is how you can engage further with our number one best-selling author, Dave Wallace. Start by reading chapter 3 in the book, Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner, and gift your business's performance by accepting his invitation. And that invitation is on his author's page, at the end of his chapter. And Dave just told us that if you click on that link, you are going to have the option to engage with him either through a sales process assessment or an ideal customer review. And I have seen him in action firsthand, so I know he knows how to deliver this in spades. You won't regret the reach out. How do you like that for a plug?
That's pretty sweet. I think I need to record this so I can play it back.
Well, good thing you have that option.
Yeah.
Plus, there also at the end of Dave's chapter, there are all sorts of social media handles for you to engage with him. So make sure that you reach out to Dave on those handles and platforms, excuse me, via your handles.
Right.
Now I'm all ahead of myself here. And there's something else that's really cool. Right now, you can see everything about the book and how to get a hold of it and Dave Wallace by going to the Books app, Brilliant Biz Book. And I'll repeat that, Brilliant Biz, B-I-Z, Book. And when you go to the app, download it, and you can see that as you scroll through the pages, there's a page called Ask an Expert, and you'll see Dave Wallace's name there. Now we have a couple different Daves, so make sure you're looking at Dave Wallace and click on it. And you can type a question that you have for Dave, and he'll respond back to you. I think that's a pretty cool bonus for everyone who has the app. What do you think?
Yes, please use it.
I promise you, he'll get back to you, even if he's on an island with a drink in his hand somewhere. Maybe?
I think, yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get back. I promise. I'll get back to you within one business day.
Okay. All right. Well, Dave, thanks for your time today and the wisdom sharing that you've
Maggie,
provided.
thanks for having me. This is our third podcast together, and they're always a blast.
Well, they are, and they're always different.
Yes.
Still focusing on the same topic, but always a different flavor. So thank you for sharing with our listeners the awesomeness that you hold.
Thank you again, Maggie. I appreciate being on the podcast.
All right, and thanks. And listeners, we appreciate you listening to the Brilliant Breakthroughs podcast, where you learn how to create more brilliant breakthroughs for your small business. Until next week, shine brightly.